Hi, I'm Celine. For 8 years, I supported my husband Mark through his entrepreneurial phase, which really meant I worked two jobs while he chased business ideas that never panned out. We lived modestly in a small apartment, counting every dollar, but I believed in us. That all changed the day we attended his father's funeral. You okay? I squeezed Mark's hand as we sat in the front row of the service. Mark nodded stiffly, his eyes red-rimmed. Yeah, Dad and I had our differences, but he trailed off, adjusting his tie for the fifth time. His father, Gerald Thompson, had been a notoriously private business mogul who'd barely acknowledged Mark's existence for years. The attendance at the funeral surprised me. Executives, lawyers, people I'd never seen before. "Who's the woman in the gray suit?" I whispered to Diana, Mark's sister, seated beside me. Diana tilted her head slightly. "Dad's attorney, Vivian Carter. She handles all the financial stuff." Something in her tone made me glance at her, but her expression revealed nothing. After the service, Vivian approached us. "Mr. Thompson, Miss Thompson, I need you both at the reading tomorrow. 10 a.m. sharp." Mark nodded. "We'll be there." "Just immediate family," Vivian added, her eyes flicking briefly to me. "Celine comes with me," Mark said firmly. I smiled gratefully at him. "Fine," Vivian replied curtly. "The estate is substantial. Be prepared." That night, Mark was unusually quiet as we got ready for bed. "You thinking about your dad?" I asked, sitting beside him. "Among other things," he replied, staring at his phone. "Did you know Dad never went public with most of his companies?" I shook my head. What does that mean? Could mean anything. We'll see tomorrow. He kissed me absently and rolled over. The next morning at the law office, Vivian sat behind a massive desk, files stacked neatly before her. Diana arrived last, sliding into the chair beside us. "Let's proceed," Vivian began. "Gerald Thompson's estate is valued at approximately $210 million. The room fell silent. I gripped Mark's hand, feeling him freeze beside me. Vivian continued, "To my son, Mark Thompson, I leave the entirety of my estate with the following condition. He must actively manage the companies for a minimum of 5 years before any liquidation." Mark's fingers tightened around mine. Diana made a small choked sound. "Nothing for me?" Diana asked, her voice tight. Vivian looked uncomfortable. "I'm afraid not, Miss Thompson. Your father was specific." Later in our apartment, Mark moved around with new energy, making calls I couldn't hear from the balcony. Elena, my best friend since college, called that evening. "How was the funeral? You holding up?" "Elena, you won't believe what happened," I said, lowering my voice. "Mark inherited everything. $210 million. Holy, are you serious? What are you guys going to do?" "I don't know yet. Mark's been on his phone all day. We haven't really talked about it." "Well, you'll never have to work double shifts again. That's something, right?" I laughed nervously. "Yeah, I guess so." 3 days later, I came home from my nursing shift to find Diana sitting in our living room, her expression grave. "Diana, what are you doing here? Where's Mark?" She looked up at me, her perfectly manicured hands twisting in her lap. "You really don't know, do you?" "Know what?" My stomach dropped. "He's gone, Celine. He emptied the joint accounts this morning. He's filed for divorce." "What do you mean he's gone?" I collapsed onto the sofa opposite Diana, my legs suddenly unable to support me. Diana's mouth twisted bitterly. "He called me this morning from the airport, private jet to the Cayman Islands. He said, and I quote, 'I've been planning this since Dad got sick. I'm not coming back.'" I shook my head numbly. "That's impossible. We've been married 8 years. He wouldn't—" "Check your bank accounts," Diana interrupted, her voice gentler now. With trembling fingers, I pulled out my phone. 0 balance. All our savings. Gone. "Did he say anything about me?" I whispered. Diana hesitated. "He said you'd be fine, that you're resourceful." I laughed, a hollow sound that scared even me. "Resourceful. I worked 60-hour weeks so he could find himself, and now I'm supposed to be resourceful? I should have warned you, Diana said, staring at her hands. Mark's always been like this. Takes what he wants, leaves destruction behind. You knew he would do this? Not specifically, but... She sighed. Remember when he vanished for 3 months 4 years ago? Said he was at that business retreat? My throat tightened. He was with someone else, wasn't he? Diana nodded. A pattern, Celine. I'm sorry. I called Elena immediately after Diana left. He did what? Elena's voice exploded through the speaker. That manipulative, conniving... I need your help, Elena. I cut her off. You work in finance. There has to be something I can do. Meet me at Cafe Luna in an hour. Bring every financial document you can find. At the cafe, Elena was already waiting with a man I didn't recognize. This is Parker, she introduced. Corporate attorney. My treat. Parker nodded seriously. Elena filled me in. First, we need to understand what happened to the assets. There's nothing to understand, I said bitterly. Mark took everything and left. Not quite everything, Parker replied. Marriage creates legal entitlements. How was the inheritance structured? Elena jumped in. The will specified Mark had to manage the businesses for 5 years, right? He can't just liquidate and disappear. We need to locate the assets and file emergency motions, Parker continued. Do you have access to any of his communications? I thought for a moment. His laptop, he left it behind. Probably thought it wasn't worth taking. Parker leaned forward. Perfect. Don't turn it on yet. We need to do this properly. 2 days later, we met with Richard, Mark's financial advisor. I'd called in a favor from a mutual friend to get the meeting. Mrs. Thompson, I really can't discuss. Richard began nervously. It's Miss Miller now, apparently, I corrected coldly. And you absolutely can discuss this, unless you want to be named as an accessory in the lawsuit. Richard blanched. Lawsuit? Fraudulent conveyance, hidden assets, conspiracy, Parker listed calmly. Serious charges, Mr. Daniels. I didn't know what Mark was planning, Richard protested. He just asked about offshore structures, theoretical questions. When? Elena pressed. 6 months ago, right after his father's diagnosis. My heart sank. 6 months. While I was working overnight shifts and making him breakfast, he was planning to abandon me. On our way out, Richard called after me. Miss Miller, there's something else. Mark's sister. I turned. Diana, what about her? She knew. She helped him set up the accounts, I'm sorry. It took 3 weeks to track Mark down. 3 weeks of legal motions, forensic accountants, and discoveries that made me question every moment of our marriage. Diana had disappeared too, but Parker's contacts finally located them at a resort in Grand Cayman. You don't have to do this in person, Elena said as we boarded the plane. Parker can handle it. I shook my head. I need to see his face. I need him to see mine. Parker looked up from his documents. Remember, stick to the script. Don't give him anything he can use. The resort was exactly what you'd expect. Pristine beaches, swaying palms, and exclusive enough that the staff initially tried to stop us. I'm here to see my husband, I told the flustered manager, handing over my still valid marriage certificate. We found Mark by the private pool, drink in hand, Diana lounging nearby. Celine? The shock on his face was almost worth the trip. What are you doing here? Surprised to see me? I'm resourceful, remember? I kept my voice steady as Parker and Elena flanked me. Mark set his drink down slowly. Look, we should talk privately. Oh, now you want to talk? I laughed. 3 weeks ago, you emptied our accounts and disappeared without a word. Diana sat up, adjusting her sunglasses. Mark, maybe we should call... Be quiet, Diana, I snapped. I know you helped him. Family loyalty is touching, but fraud is still a crime. Mark stood, his confidence visibly returning. Celine, be reasonable. The marriage wasn't working. We both know that. Working? I supported you for 8 years. I paid our rent while you found yourself. I believed in you. And I'm grateful, really, he said, lowering his voice to the soothing tone he'd always used when trying to convince me of something. That's why I'm willing to be generous. $1 million, Celine. Clean break. Parker stepped forward. Mr. Thompson, we've already filed motions to freeze the assets transferred from the estate. Your prenuptial agreement doesn't cover inherited assets acquired during the marriage. Mark's face darkened. You brought a lawyer? To what? Intimidate me? To inform you that we've submitted evidence of your premeditated fraud to the court, I replied. Your father's will specified management, not liquidation. The transfers you've made are illegal. You wouldn't understand business, Mark dismissed. Dad's companies needed restructuring. To Cayman Shell Corporations? Created 6 months ago? Elena interjected. Mark's eyes narrowed. Who are you? Someone who understands numbers better than you, Elena replied coolly. Mark moved closer to me, his voice dropping to a whisper. Celine, I'm sorry it ended this way. We had some good times, right? But this is my chance to live the life I deserve. The life you deserve, I repeated slowly. What about the life I deserve? After everything I sacrificed for you? I said I'm sorry, he hissed, mask slipping. What more do you want? Half of everything, as entitled by law, Parker answered for me. And damages for the fraudulent conveyance? Mark's face contorted. You ungrateful! He grabbed my arm roughly. I made you. You were nothing when we met. The resort security appeared instantly, drawn by the commotion. Take your hands off her, sir, one ordered. Mark released me, but leaned in, whispering, Fight me on this, and I'll make sure you get nothing. I have the resources now. I'll bury you in legal fees for decades. As security escorted him away, he shouted back, You'll regret this, Celine. I promise you that. Diana approached cautiously. Celine, he's just angry. He doesn't mean... Save it. I cut her off. The family that betrays together stays together, I guess. 6 months later, I sat in a Manhattan courtroom as the judge delivered her ruling. The court finds that Mr. Thompson engaged in deliberate concealment and fraudulent transfer of marital assets, Judge Brennan stated firmly. The prenuptial agreement is thereby nullified due to evidence of premeditated fraud. Mark's attorney started to object, but Judge Brennan continued. Furthermore, Mr. Thompson violated the specific terms of his father's will by attempting to liquidate assets contrary to the 5-year management requirement. The court orders all transferred assets frozen pending proper division and restoration of the estate's management structure. After the ruling, Mark approached me in the hallway, his designer suit now looking somehow less impressive. Celine, can we talk? His voice had lost its edge. I made a mistake. I was overwhelmed by the money, the possibilities. Elena stepped between us. Save it for your therapist, Mark persisted. Please, 5 minutes. There's a way we can both win here. I finally turned to face him. Both win? You betrayed everything we built. You planned it for months while I worked myself to exhaustion supporting us. I know, and I'm truly sorry, he said, eyes downcast. I panicked. Dad's money, it changed me. But we could start over. The businesses are worth more with me running them. We could work together. Parker approached. Mrs. Miller has a statement for you, Mr. Thompson. I took a deep breath. The court has awarded me 40% of the estate's value. I'm establishing a foundation with my share, providing scholarships for nursing students working double shifts to support themselves or their partners. What? You're giving it away? Mark looked genuinely shocked. Not all of it. Just enough to help people like the woman I was. The rest? I'm investing. Starting with buying controlling interest in your father's primary company. Mark paled. You can't run that business. You don't know anything about... I've hired people who do, I interrupted. Including your father's former COO, who you fired last month. Turns out he has excellent ideas about company direction. Diana appeared behind Mark. The board voted this morning. Celine's proposal was approved unanimously. Mark's head snapped around. You knew about this. Diana nodded. I'm trying to make amends, unlike you. You'll regret this, Mark hissed, echoing his threat from the resort. Both of you. Actually, those threats are now part of court record. Parker interjected. Along with the assault charge from the Caymans, any further harassment will result in immediate legal consequences. Later, at the celebration dinner with Elena, Parker, and Diana, I finally felt myself beginning to relax. To justice, Elena toasted, raising her glass. And new beginnings, added Parker, who'd been looking at Elena with increasing interest over the months we'd worked together. Diana hesitated before speaking. I know I don't deserve to be here, but thank you for giving me a chance to make things right. Everyone deserves a second chance, I replied, except Mark. We all laughed, the sound genuine and healing. What will you do now? Elena asked. With your life, I mean, not just the money. I smiled, feeling something close to peace for the first time in months. I'm going back to school, finishing my master's in nursing administration, and running a foundation, and apparently overseeing a corporate empire. Sounds manageable, Parker chuckled. But first, I continued, I'm taking a vacation. Somewhere without pristine beaches or exclusive resorts. Somewhere I can remember who I am when I'm not defined by someone else. To Celine, Diana raised her glass, who taught me what real strength looks like. As we clinked glasses, I wondered what you would do if someone betrayed you after years of sacrifice. Would you fight back? Would you reclaim what's rightfully yours? Or would you simply walk away? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below.